Welcome to the Awakened Human Podcast, the place to be for highly progressive yet extremely grounded intuitive guidance, energetic support, metaphysical tools, and higher consciousness for highly successful, ambitious, soul-centered visionaries and leaders like you who want to make a global impact and achieve your highest fulfillment by aligning with your soul's true divine agenda and your role in God's plan of lighted creation, and by utilizing your divine gifts, talents, and abilities from the higher realms. We do this by working with the non-physical realms of higher guidance, energy, intuition, and powerful metaphysical tools for healing and transformation. We understand that the real change and transformation that's being called for on planet Earth and in our own lives and our own businesses doesn't come from outside of us, but rather from within. And that the change that we desire to experience in our lives and in our world requires us to change from the inside. I'm your host, Lori Ann Spagna. I'm a best-selling author, spiritual catalyst, intuitive, energy worker, ascension guide, multidimensional channel, animal communicator, visionary, lightworker, and luminary. I have dedicated my entire professional life to helping thousands and thousands of humans and animals all over the world in service and contribution to the light, which is the expansion, the upliftment, the evolution of humanity, to awaken, to uplift, and to align with our true divine source, which exists within each and every one of us. It is my passion, joy, and purpose to share this information, energy, and consciousness with you. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing time with me. Let's get started. Hello, you beautiful, magnificent being. Welcome to today's podcast. Super excited to be here with you. This is my co-host, Emma, or Emma Shasta. She knows her name. Or Emma Shasta Sophia. Hanging out with us today. All right. So today is the long-awaited episode entitled How to Make More Time. And it's not what you think. I promise you, it is better than what you think. And it was born out of discussions that I was having inside of the Sacred Visionary Mentorship, and over many years have been asked, and in many of my classes and workshops, the psychic development class, I used to teach how to bend time and make more time. And I learned this over many years of practicing it and playing with it myself. And I think you will really enjoy this episode. It's not what you think. So stay with me here, because we're going outside of the ordinary and beyond what is traditionally thought of as time in the mainstream. And if you are a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, or a person who's highly ambitious, which most people in my community are, and you are wanting to accomplish great things in this world, then you will love this episode. And I have a feeling there'll be more than one of them, because this concept is a little advanced and probably requires more explanation than I might have just for today, but let's see what we can cover. So we're talking about time, and we're in the recognition that most of humanity is of the belief that time is a constant. This is a false belief, but their belief system is that time is a 24-hour cycle that is related to how much the earth revolves around the sun and when the moon rises and sets, right? That's the 24-hour period. It's related to the earth's relationship to the sun. And it also is somewhat measured in terms of the moon in relationship to the earth, where the moon is orbiting the earth. That is the traditional belief system. And the traditional belief system, of course, is that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. When you hear a person say that, please immediately discredit them on the topic of time, because they are not accurate. They are operating from faulty beliefs that are based in what I would call third dimensional consciousness, right? So, and I'm not saying they're not a credible person. I mean, I've heard lots of famous people say it, and it's been said lots of times. It's just that when they say it always like triggers a little piece in me that's like, yeah, that's false information, and that person doesn't know what they're talking about, right? So let's unpack this from a dimensional point of view, dimensional consciousness and higher consciousness. where does time exist? Where does it exist? So if you ask yourself that question and you don't know, that's okay. Most people don't know, where does it exist? And most people, even people who are more progressed, their belief system is that time exists on a fourth dimensional plane. And that's where time and space exists. A lot of people, even in the realm of people who are interested in physics, will say, well, time and space exist on a 4D plane. That's what provides for time and space. And they're not wrong about that. It's just that's not the full story, because 4D realm is the realm of construct. So what does that mean, construct? The 4D realm is like the superhighway of non-physical stuff. Let's just call it stuff. And that includes all forms of inertia, which is often identified as your ego. It's not all that's comprised of the so-called ego, but inertia, it's like consciousness that is not really conscious. It's like it includes different thought forms and beliefs and belief systems and amalgamation of non-physical energy. There's all kinds of thoughts and thought forms on 4D, even if it's not necessarily inertia. There's a lot of emotional energy there and emotional volatility. And 4D can trap wayward souls. So there's the experience of what could be called the bardos or purgatory. 4D is construct. It's consciousness that isn't necessarily, although it might be, utilized for anything in particular. 4D is also part of what is part of 4D is often what is referred to as the astral realm. Anyone out there ever play with astral travel? I would like to share with you an astral travel experience that I once had, although I probably should save it for another podcast because I tend to digress on these podcasts, but I'll share it. I was learning about astral travel. I was living in Maui at the time. I was going through a divorce. I innocently just wanted to know what was going on in the home that I once lived in, where my ex-husband was, or soon to be ex-husband. So I went through the astral plane, traveling with consciousness to go visit him, to see, sort of psychically spy. I didn't know at that time that's what I was doing. I was young, I was naive, I didn't understand spiritual ethics or spiritual integrity. I just was playing, exploring the astral realm. So I went to the house. I went in and I looked around the house. I saw on the desk where I used to work a picture of a woman that looked like me. She had like red curly hair. I thought it might be me. I went into the picture and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this woman's fist came at me, punched me right in the third eye. Energetically, I popped in the body. I felt like I literally was punched. And that was a big lesson for me about psychic spying, not to do that ever again. It was not something that I liked learning. It definitely shook me up. I decided not to play in the astral plane ever again, although I did play in it again, but not in the same way. Anyway, there's a moral to the story, and that is that some version of you will teach you, but it turned out that he did have a girlfriend who looked like me. I found that out later. These are the things you can find out when you psychically spy. All right, lots of people do that. I don't anymore. I honor the laws of integrity and honesty, and I do not do anything that is not in accordance with full and complete free will consent, so no worries there. You learn hard lessons and you grow. Nonetheless, without getting diverted anymore, those are all examples of fourth dimension. Now, dimension is a human language. It's really like planes of existence or vibrational bandwidths. So it is in that vibrational bandwidth where time and the concept of time exists. In the physical world, we're having a physical experience that allows us to experience time, but in truth, we're experiencing it through the lens of our consciousness, which is why if somebody says time is moving really fast, then it moves so fast. Or if somebody says time is moving really slow, what are you talking about? The day dragged on. It's because their consciousness experienced it that way through their lens and perspective. Now, why is this important? Because if you are a business person, an entrepreneur person, or any person in the world who feels like you can't get anything done, you can actually learn how to elongate time. If you're going through an experience where you want to accelerate time or shorten time, you can do that too. It can be all done through consciousness. And while I can't teach you how to do that during this podcast, it is something that we do talk about. I do teach about in my intuitive development class and also in dark arts training class, which is not about scary stuff at all. It's about learning how to work with consciousness. And of course, I also teach about it in the master program, in the Sacred Visionary Master mentorship program. So you can learn about this, but let me just give you some examples of how I've used this. And I'm still learning it. I'm still developing it because it's one of those tools that you play with and you learn and you grow as you do it. But I'll never forget the time when I walked into the DMV, which if you don't know what that is, right? Department of Motor Vehicles, one of those 3-letter organizations. And I had to go get a driver's license or whatever it was I had to do in their license plates, or that's what they do. I walked in and I was like, you pull a number and I'm like number, I don't know, 932 or whatever it was. And they were on like number 45. And I was, that experience. I was like, are you kidding me? This is going to take all day. And anyone who's ever been in LA and you've gone to the DMV, you know how that goes, right? So I'm like, okay, well, this kind of sucks, but this is my situation. So I'm going to just sit down and do a meditation. And I'm sure I probably had like some kind of headsets or earplugs in because I did my best to like filter out like the noise. I thought I was going to be there for a while. So I just went into a meditative state. Very easy for me to access altered brainwave patterns because I know how to do it so well. And from that state, I just decided to play with time and play with speeding up and accelerating the time that would go by. So in my mind, I just started to watch the numbers on the electronic dashboard that tell you when your number comes up. I just watched them clicking. I just sat there and counted them, click, until they got to my number. I mean, I thought it was like 5 minutes. Now, I don't even know. Like I was in an altered state, but it felt like 5 minutes. And it just opened my eyes at some point. And I was like, oh my God, my number is almost up. Like 5 minutes. What happened? And it was literally a matter of minutes. I don't remember because I didn't look at the clock before. I didn't look at the clock after, but it was like something like matter of minutes. And my number was there. So my experience was, and of course, my higher self gives me these opportunities to learn through practice like this. So that's part of what I'm here for, to help others learn this kind of stuff. But it became a teachable moment because it was a learnable moment because I was like, are you kidding? It worked. That was so cool. Why? Partly because I had no attachment to it. I was just playing. That's how I encourage a lot of people to learn how to do this stuff. Just play. I've done this kind of thing before with having to make it to airports on time. I've done this kind of thing whenever I was late to something. It really works. I wouldn't say that I am 100% masterful at it. I would say I am also still learning. So the overriding principle must always be with harm to none, always, because you're not trying to influence another or make anything harmful. You're just trying to affect your reality. But even in the state where you want to expand time, I've done this kind of thing a lot when I've taught classes or workshops. I've done it a lot on retreats when I've hosted retreats, that I can fit everything in that they're meant to receive during the window of time that we have, of linear time. I've played outside of the bounds of time a lot because, of course, in the higher realms, the truth is there is no time. Time is made up with human construct. And anyone who's ever listened to Eckhart Tolle or any of these teachers, they get this. That's what the Power of Now book was all about. Like, it's all you really have is now. Reality exists from the place of here and now. Everything is always here and now, and consciousness is here now. Consciousness is here now. Consciousness is here now. So the idea of linear time is made up through human consciousness. It's not a constant. If you get that, and you understand that time is not a constant, it is a construct, then you can start playing with elongating time and giving yourself more time, or shortening time to accelerate things. And just always remembering that whenever you're playing with something like this, your overall intention is harm to none. Just make sure you do that, because you don't want to harm yourself or anyone else. And whenever we're playing in the astral realms, there's always all kinds of infinite potentials and possibilities. So I get this is not a full masterclass. It's more of an introductory course, but just imagine what your life would be if all the things that you needed to get done in a day, especially as solopreneur and entrepreneur, because I know we so many times feel like we never get out from under the to-do list, and there's an infinite burden of things that have to be done and accomplished in the physical world. And meanwhile, those of us who are becoming more conscious are starting to realize that the experience of time is accelerating. Why? Because our consciousness is moving beyond that fourth dimensional plane. So as you elevate in consciousness, and in addition to that, depending on your perspective, are you looking back and so-called more time has elapsed as you get older, or are you looking forward and maybe you have more time there if you're younger, or maybe you perceive that you have less time because of the aging programs in our unconscious? I hope this isn't too far out there. But as this happens in your life and you start to realize, I can change the experience from another state of consciousness so that I can achieve and accomplish everything I'm meant to in a day without having to bother with the things that are insignificant or irrelevant, and I can work with consciousness to do this, it's a very empowering tool. Very powerful, very empowering. I get it. This is not the master class of it. It is the concept of it, because it requires a lot more than 15 or 20 minutes to teach it. That said, I hope this makes sense. Let me add this one other perspective in, and I have alluded to this already, but if you understand that everything ultimately, from physics and spiritual truth, they both agree that everything is always happening in the infinite now, that from that perspective, in the infinite now, you can utilize your consciousness, your desire, your intention to change your experience of time without harming yourself. You become so much more empowered. It just has to be done from a space of not being pulled or swayed in the physical world. So that requires you to come into a level of a mastery. The way that part of how I teach that is by accessing not only the theta brainwave, which I've talked about in other podcast episodes, not only the third eye, but also the heart portal, which I haven't talked about in this episode. I'm sure I've addressed it in other episodes, but we're awakening more of the dormant potential within us that knows how to do this, that can start practicing it and applying it and utilizing it. Now, that changes life as we know it, because we stop having to be stressed or worried. Will I get it all done? Can I accomplish it all? And we start recognizing we're working with time in a whole new way. Here's the other piece I want to add to this. You are not limited to your physical body. You, as an infinite being, are a multidimensional being that expands far beyond the limitations of the physical body. So what that means is that as you expand into more of the wholeness of who you are, which is far beyond what I'm referring to as fourth dimension, or that dimension of energetic bandwidth where these kinds of constructs are, you start to recognize that that is within you. It's not outside of you, it's within you. And that from a place of it being within you, you have the capacity to change it as you like. Okay. I hope this is helpful and not too far out there. A lot of people have been asking me about this. A lot of people have been wanting to know more. If it's too confusing, I recommend you listen to it again and again until it starts to sink in, because one of the beautiful things about vibrational resonance is that as you hear it and allow it to come into your consciousness, it will start to make more sense, and more of your knowing within you will start to be birthed through you. So just allow it to serve you in the most benevolent, best ways. That's the purpose of it anyway. You're not going to become an expert time changer after a 15-minute podcast, but just by starting to become attuned to the higher truth that time is a human construct. And by the way, I have a whole course on this inside the Sacred membership, which you can easily access. And it is a very powerful and profound course that really helps you to start realizing. And of course, I do teach it how to do it inside of the intuitive development class and the dark arts training class. So the key is to understand that it's something that you can learn to change as you elevate in frequency and elevate in consciousness. And then you can use it to serve yourself, your experience in the physical world, and your clients and students and those you love even better. It's a powerful tool that is highly empowering to start to understand, and one that most teachers out there, they don't understand because why? They're operating within the boundaries of time. So it's not until you expand beyond the limitations of time where you can start to realize the truth of what I'm offering here today. All right, I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know. Let me know how you liked it. Share the podcast as well. I get it. It is a little out there, but it is a wonderful, powerful tool once you start realizing the potency. And since so many people have been asking me about it, I just wanted to share it today. I know there's a lot more to it, so stay tuned. Maybe there'll be future episodes on this topic, especially if you write and let me know that you want to learn more and I can teach more about it. Or else you can join us in the Sacred membership or Sacred mentorship or the intuitive development class. All right, you guys. With that, I'm going to sign off. As always, I am truly, truly wishing you your most benevolent best and hoping for your highest fulfillment in the most benevolent best ways possible. And I'm so grateful to you for sharing sacred space and time with me today and for acknowledging and recognizing the divinity within you and sharing that with the world. You are truly magnificent. All right. I'm signing off for now, sending you so much love. Farewell for now. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening today. If you loved the show and if you benefited in any way, if it helped you to up-level or expand your consciousness, if you gained any new insights or ideas, if it made you think or become more aware, or if there were some strategies or intuition that you may have benefited from in any way, would you please do me 2 easy and simple favors? First, if you would be willing to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I'd be so grateful. And second, if you're willing to share this show with anyone else who would benefit, you can either post it on your social media or just email it to someone and share it with another person or any other people. It would be so awesome. This kind of thing is so helpful in expanding consciousness on the planet and helping others to benefit from this kind of teaching, which just simply isn't generally readily available in the mainstream. So sharing it really helps others benefit and helps our planet evolve and awaken. Plus, expressing gratitude and generosity in this way will also expand your capacity to give and receive even more. Either way, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for participating and for sharing, and overall, just for being the magnificent, the spectacular, the brilliant, the fabulous, the wonderful you that you truly are, and for allowing yourself to be the very best version of you today and every day. All my love and gratitude to you.